There are some popular diet plans among athletes, and in this section, we are going to cover some of those. First, vegetarian and vegan diets. These are also popular among athletes. And the most common type of vegetarian diet is called lacto-ovo vegetarian. So, athletes who follow these type of diets, they do not consume the flesh of animals like, beef, poultry, fish, um, and pork, but consumes dairy products, and eggs. So that's why we call them lacto-ovo vegetarian or vegetarians. So these are called lacto-ovo vegetarians. And this is the most common type of vegetarian diet. On the other hand, remember, vegans, they do not consume dairy products, eggs, and the flesh of animals, and we call them vegans. Here is important point. Well-planned vegetarian and vegan diets can sustain training, performance, and health at all stages of the life cycle. And this is very important and interesting. So, if we try to plan a vegetarian and vegan diet, we need to consider nutrient-dense food items into our in our meal planning, and in that way we can make sure that those diets uh, will improve performance, will improve recovery, and will support training of our athletes. So the first common and popular diet was vegetarian and vegan. The second one is called paleo diet. So the paleo diet is consumption of food that humans uh, used to eat in the Paleolithic era. So that's why it's called paleo diet. And the foods include in this diet are meat, fish, shellfish, eggs, tree nuts, fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, and water. This is the food items are included in paleo diet. The foods exclude are grains, dairy, beans, legumes, potatoes, sugar, and most processed foods. This is popular among CrossFit and triathletes. There are some short-term benefits of paleo diet, weight loss and improvements in blood lipids and glucose and metabolism. And it's very interesting. Based on the textbook, this type of diet is more expensive than a healthy diet pattern. And the reason may be because of eating more fish and shellfish and tree nuts. And those are expensive than grains, potatoes, um, and other food items that we can eat following a healthy diet pattern. And low carb, high fat diet, some endurance athletes adopt this type of diet. And it's called a train low approach. Sometimes they follow 3 to 10 weeks of low carbohydrate diet. And the diet we call a diet low carbohydrate diet whenever the carbohydrate intake is um, 3 gram per kilogram of body weight or less than 3 gram per kilogram of body weight per day. That's called a low carbohydrate diet. So, and here is a kind of a knowledge check. So I just put the answers here. So vegetarian diet, they are common in developing deficiencies, including vitamin B12, iron, calcium, and zinc. And the reason is they do not eat flesh of animals. And most of the time we get B12 and iron and zinc from beef, poultry, and those kind of food items. And the vegans, they consume no animal derived products. Paleo, they consume grains, dairy, beans, legumes. Actually, they exclude those. So in the paleo diet, they exclude grains, dairy, beans, legumes, potatoes, sugar, and processed foods. And then gluten-free is another common type of diet, and that's appropriate for those with celiac disease. And you already know that from your other nutrition courses. And then low carb diet is typically defined as 3 gram per kilogram of carb per day. So I would like you to remember these terms and their definitions. Like it's it's better for nutritionists to know the definition of low carb diet or what gluten-free diet is, or paleo diet, vegan diet, vegetarian diet. So please try to memorize and try to learn about these different types of diets and their differences. So in this section, we will cover caffeine and alcohol. So caffeine is the most widely used psychotropic drug, and it is found in many beverages and a few foods as well. So we can say caffeine is part of a normal diet, and it is considered safe at moderate doses. But there are some side effects of caffeine, including addiction. After drinking more coffee and tea, especially like black tea, which is, has high levels of caffeine, uh, people like try to get kind of addiction to those beverages. And that's one of the main side effects of caffeine consumption. But it is considered safe at moderate doses. And there are some reasons for consumption among people. It can increase athletic performance, it's useful for weight loss, and it can be used and consumed as CNS, central nervous system stimulation, and pain relief. So here, these are side effects for different levels of caffeine intake. We can categorize caffeine intake into three groups: low, moderate, and high, based on the caffeine amount and content. If it is less than 200 milligram, we can say low caffeine intake. Whenever it is less than 200 milligram per day. Moderate is 200 to 400 milligram, and high is above 400. And there are some side effects of consuming high caffeine intake. Increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, some gastrointestinal distress, and insomnia. It kind of prevents from having a normal sleep. So here we have different products. I apologize, the headings for this slide is not correct. So here we have different products and their corresponding caffeine content in milligram. These are just some examples, like espresso coffee is about 150 milligram, decaf coffee is 5, bottled iced tea is 30 to 80, and here we have other beverages. Milk chocolate is 10, dark chocolate is 30. As you can see, different food items and different beverages, um, they provide different amounts of caffeine. So it's part of a normal diet. And alcohol consumption. So, for the alcohol consumption, alcohol contains 7 kilocalorie per gram. Carbohydrate and protein provides 4 kilocalorie per gram of carb and protein. And fats and lipids are 9 kilocalorie per gram. And alcohol is 7 kilocalorie per gram. And one drink provides 100 to 150 kilocalorie. And when we say one drink of alcohol, it is half an ounce of ethanol or 5 ounce of wine, 12 ounce of beer. The thing is, these numbers like half an ounce of ethanol, 5 ounce of wine, and 12 ounce of beer, these can be a question on the RD exam, just for your information. So it is better to memorize these, but I'm not going to question you on the exam about these numbers. But just remember, like 5 ounce of wine is one drink. And when we say binge drinking is defined as four or more drinks by a female and five or more drinks by a male in 2 hours. It's better to remember these definitions. And when we say moderate consumption of alcohol, it is defined as one drink per day for women and two drinks per day for men. And again, remember, two drinks are 10 ounces of wine or 24 ounces of beer. So if, let's say, if I consume 24 ounces of beer each day, I'm a moderate alcohol consumer, for instance. And again, these are different beverages with their corresponding, serving size in ounces and their energy content. So, low to moderate doses of alcohol do not improve performance. It doesn't improve performance. And it reduces endurance performance. It has some impact on recovery. So these are some impact of alcohol consumption on recovery, like muscle injury recovery, glycogen resynthesis, and rehydration. Higher doses of alcohol have higher negative effects. Alcohol is a diuretic. So by drinking alcohol, we are at the risk of dehydration. Remember that. And also it has some effect on hormone function. Different hormones are affected by alcohol consumption. So let's talk about dietary supplements. So the safety and effectiveness of dietary supplements. First of all, remember, these are not determined. Safety and effectiveness of dietary supplements. And FDA does not regulate dietary supplements. It may improve or impair performance. And when we say ergogenic aids, it means drugs or medical procedures such as blood doping, but some are dietary supplements like creatine. Creatine is a dietary supplement. Again, remember, the safety and effectiveness of these dietary supplements are not regulated by the FDA. The effect of this is very important and very interesting point here. And this is a take-home message, I would call that. The effect of many dietary supplements is estimated to be zero. And that's really interesting. And there are some commonly used supplements by athletes. As we discussed this in first chapter, vitamin and mineral supplements are the commonly used supplements by athletes. And their benefits depends on dietary intake. So if we have adequate dietary intake of vitamin and minerals, we don't need vitamin and mineral supplements. So in that case, if our athletes have adequate dietary intake, adequate energy intake and nutrient intake, those vitamin and mineral supplements will not improve their performance, will not improve their recovery because they are getting adequate amount of nutrients through diet. And protein supplements, they are not more or less effective for increasing muscle mass than food proteins. And probiotics are, I would say these are exception because they have some beneficial effects on gut microbiota. And gut microbiota is it's very, interesting topic. It's like a growing area of research. And there are more and more research coming out this every year about gut microbiota. And probiotics have very beneficial effects on gut microbiota. And having a healthy microbiota will help performance and recovery as well, based on the literature. So as I said, these are kind of a review of this chapter, like summarizing this chapter. We need to do assessment for our athletes before trying to provide eating pattern or meal planning for our athletes. We need to do some assessments like body composition, some lab work, anthropometrics. We need to get some data on their physical activity, food record, health habits. And the goal is we need to set at least one goal for each of, performance, weight, and body composition and health. And then we need to have an action plan, which will be our meal plan, and then evaluation and reassessment. And we already talked about this nutrition periodization. Again, the most important point here is to match the demands of training with nutrition plan. That's the main point about this slide. So here we have an example for meal planning. We have 27-year-old female Division 3 soccer player. Her height, her weight, her percent body fat, and the season ended is she is in the transition phase of training, which means she is off season now. So the training phase, energy needs, we need to determine these. We can use again different equations and formulas to determine energy needs for our athletes. So we have Cunningham equation or Harris-Benedict equation. Or we can use the guideline of gram per kilogram of body weight and kilocalorie per kilogram of body weight as well, as a rule of thumb. And then we need to use gram per kilogram of body weight for macronutrients. So let's say we do this and then we got her RMR, resting metabolic rate. So based on resting metabolic rate, her needs is 2000 kilocalorie. So we can use the dietary guideline table as our main tool and as our baseline. And we can pick out 2000 kilocalorie from the table and then go from there. So this is an example, a planned food um, pattern based on 2000 calorie meal plan. So, we have food groups on the left side, and we can divide those among different meals like breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner, and we can provide this. And we have our sample menu over here for breakfast, for lunch, snack, dinner, and the snack before uh, bedtime. So, as a summary, this chapter was about meal planning and diet planning. The take-home message is we need to match training cycle and training load or training volume with our meal plan. It is better to estimate and calculate carbohydrate needs and protein needs and then fat needs. Of course, first we will need to estimate energy needs. We need to be careful about dietary supplements. We need to be careful about different diet plans or eating patterns, like paleo diet, vegetarian diet. We recommend whole food from each food group instead of processed foods or ultra processed foods. Those are the summary of this chapter.